To all my friends. Hello, everybody. It's fun times. Fantasy football draft season is here. This is one of my favorite drafts every year, Pros versus Joes. Fantasy Mojo invited me to this, I think, 16 years ago. It's one of my favorite drafts because it is before all the training camp storylines get absorbed, before the preseason. It gives you a chance to get out ahead of takes, maybe where a few weeks from now, these players won't be drafted in the same spot. It's a really fun contest, best ball contest. The lineup is quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, and then two flexes, no kickers or defense. 20 rounds. So without kickers and defense, we go pretty deep. And it's best ball, so you have to build your team to last, but you also need to build in weekly and season long upside. There's a lot of different ways you can play it. You'll see that as we go through this. And I will be completely transparent. So to the other 11 people out there, if you're watching, I hope you're concentrating on your draft. I apologize for any New Orleans internet problems. I'm going to be drafting on my phone here, hopefully to not put too much stress on my computer. And I've also shared the draft board over on Twitter. I'm not the best at screen sharing. Let's see what that does to my computer, my poor computer, if I try to screen share right now. And thank you, everybody, by the way. This is a good chance for me. Look, I'm going to do a screen share right now. And let's see, as the draft, I'm picking in the two hole, by the way. There we go. How did that work? You're seeing the screen? Yeah, you're seeing it, and there I am. So let's go ahead and turn that off. But you can follow along. So I apologize if I lose track of myself. But if you follow along at over on Twitter, you can see the draft board. I'll try to also be transparent. It's going to be kind of stream of consciousness. I haven't done this before. Big thanks to my wife, love of my life, Kate, who encouraged me to do this. Drafting from the two hole, I figured it would actually be a pretty good thing. We're drafting about 20 seconds here because, I had a chance to think out my strategy beforehand. And I think there's a lot of ways to play this. And I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you, everybody. This is my 20th year at Football Guys as a staff writer, among other things, 20th year of the Audible. And wow, I would not be able to do this without you all. So that you've made time in your life to hang out with me, isn't that what it's all about? To all my friends. We love football. We love fantasy football. We love thinking hard about things, solving puzzles, or maybe not solving, but trying to solve the puzzles. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So as the number one pick is on the clock, they get about a minute and a half. I'm going to have a lot of time in between my picks to talk. The number one pick, as expected, is Jamar Chase. I thought a lot about this, and I'm going to go with, I'm not going to try to make this take too long. I'm going to go with Brock Bowers. And this is a tight end premium league. So 1.5 PPR. He was about a 300-point player. For comparison, Jamar Chase was a 370-point player. Saquon Barkley was like a 350-point player. And just as I've played this contest now for 16 years, thanks Fantasy Mojo, I found that tight end points are the hardest points to get. Also, tight end is the most unpredictable position. So a third pick, Bijan Robinson. If I would have gone running back, I probably would have gone Bijan Robinson with the hope that Michael Penix is going to elevate this offense, his running ability. Bijan Robinson, also like Brock Bowers, can get even better from an already high floor. And we may look back and say Bijan Robinson should have been the pick here. But Brock Bowers is going to have a new quarterback, Geno Smith, a new offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, just a whole new energy. And he already was monumental as a rookie tight end. So if he's scoring in the same vicinity of the top quarterback, wide receivers, running backs, tight end points are the hardest points to come by. And also, again, people go a little bit crazy for tight ends. When there's runs that you don't see coming in FFPC drafts, it's always at tight end. So I wanted to go ahead and get out ahead of that to give myself more flexibility and also to be honest. So the picks are flying off the board now, folks. By the way, Jahmyr Gibbs goes fourth. Saquon Barkley goes fifth. And this is a theme. Saquon Barkley, you can see the ADP Fantasy Mojo has a whole data warehouse for these drafts. So I have gotten the benefit of seeing three drafts from the first weekend, plus the fourth draft that's going on as a slow draft, which is kind of cool. So you can see, some of these changing situations, how it affects this. Let me go ahead and pull up the draft board here. So for those of you, and for this will be for posterity, right? For people that might watch this after the fact. And you can see Saquon Barkley going fifth. So I have to assume that this is, whoa, wait, not, see, look at this already. Me and technology not mixing well as you get the live stream instead of the draft board. There we go. And you can see there with the draft board that we had Christian McCaffrey, and I guess in a best ball contest, going ahead of Saquon Barkley. CeeDee Lamb going fifth. I thought about CeeDee Lamb. He was a 370-point player 2 years ago. I think he's going to be that again as long as he stays healthy. And Saquon Barkley going seventh. And I can only assume that folks are very worried about the 480 touches. So it'd be interesting to see where Will Shipley. Maybe I might be planning on taking it. Don't tell anybody. Will Shipley, I think, and A.J. Dillon, who was getting the first carries. But I think you would see Will Shipley be the more valuable player if Barkley goes down. And, of course, the passing game. Justin Jefferson with the hamstring going eighth. Trey McBride. And, of course, look, hey, if I had my druthers here, I would have picked somewhere near the end of the first round, taking George Kittle, right? I mean, I think that George Kittle may outscore Brock Bowers if he plays all 17 games. Have you noticed the San Francisco wide receiver core lately? So maybe I'm just going to go ahead and leave this up. You all don't need to see my mug. I'm going to go ahead and leave the draft board up so that y'all can see this. Maybe I should have been doing that from the beginning. So bear with me, folks. I love you all. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. And another thing that's fun about this draft, by the way, pros versus Joes, but everybody, 6 professional, we're professionals, and 6 people who are always really good FFPC players and really good fantasy players in the Joes. But professional, when you get through the first round in about 4 minutes, that this is quite a group. So let's talk about the picks that have been going on here while I'm chatting. Malik Neighbors, number 10. I like that. Trey McBride, 9. Malik Neighbors, 10. And Neighbors, there's that foot issue. Sounds like he's been playing with it since LSU. He played through it last year. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be fine. He could easily be a 120, 130 catch player this year. Ashton Genty going 11th. Again, part of that Oakland. Oh, Oakland? There's my brain. Las Vegas. Speaking of Oakland, rest in peace, the Cobra, Dave Parker, going into the Hall of Fame today. As a kid growing up in the Pittsburgh area. Yeah, we all idolized him. Puka Nacua. Watch that. Matthew Stafford. I did move Puka down a spot or 2 in my wide receiver rankings because it's so close at the top of the board. That Matthew Stafford issue, look, you never want a team to say he's going to practice in a week. No, he's not. He might not practice at all this summer. Maybe, but backs, Jimmy Garoppolo is probably the best passing backup quarterback in the league. So you shouldn't be too worried about Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and Devin Achane. Justin Boone over at Yahoo doing that. Michael Leone, I'm in actually another FFPC best ball league with. Takes Nico Collins. There goes Brian Thomas. Won't be surprised if we look back and Brian Thomas should have been a top 5 wide receiver. You can see how tightly packed these guys are. Neighbors, Nacua, St. Brown, Collins, Thomas. All of these guys have similar ranges of outcomes. Maybe a little different ways of getting there, different risk factors, different floors and ceilings, but roughly the same. So a lot of people are like that. And there goes Drake London. Drake London, there's another wide receiver start. Wow, someone's going to get to pair George Kittle with, a player they took in the top 7. We'll see. So this is all going exactly as I actually hoped, because part of the reason I didn't take Bijan Robinson is because I really feel like I liked the running backs that were going to be available at the 2-3 turn. And there goes George Kittle. So Saquon Barkley, George Kittle. Wow. Dennis Jones out there. You get maybe the number 1 running back, certainly number 1 running back last year. And if Saquon Barkley is fine, it's because he's a freak, first of all. Number 2, he's got an incredible offensive line. And number 3, he's a freak. And then there's George Kittle. Again, Brock Purdy, with these injuries at wide receiver, George Kittle could be the number 1 tight end. He did it with like 90 or 95 targets. Don't quote me on the number. There goes Ladd McConkey. Coach Speak Index, love him, putting the quote out there when they asked if Ladd McConkey has another level. Ladd McConkey. Derrick Henry falling to CeeDee Lamb, Derrick Henry. This is going to be tough. This is going to be a tough draft. My, oh my. CeeDee Lamb, potential number 1 wide receiver. Derrick Henry, nothing wrong with that at 2-8. Again, if I could have picked a different draft spot, I love Brock Bowers. But, maybe I might have enjoyed one of those combos to start. But I've got my plan here, again, thinking that at the very least I'm going to get 1 running back that I like, maybe 2. As we're waiting to see what Mauricio is doing great work. Fantasy football in Spanish. That's awesome, by the way. My Spanish is, I went to elementary school in New Mexico for a little bit. We said the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. Grants, New Mexico. Love, very next to the Acoma Pueblo. So he's got about, there goes AJ Brown. So this is perfect. So now with this, I really feel great about the running backs available. So now I know I'm going to get Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor. I feel really good about this because those are the running backs. Like, because the wide receivers went, I passed on a running back at 2 because I really felt like I was going to like the running backs at the 2-3 turn. So waiting to see here. It is Bucky Irving. So I would choose between Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor. Again, like, I feel like I'm going to get another running back I like. So I'm going to go for upside here. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor, who finished like the guy who we were debating between him and Christian McCaffrey 2 years ago. And Jonathan Taylor, whether it's Daniel Jones, or Anthony Richardson, that's the point of the spear. Jonathan Taylor, you saw them really feed him, got over the ankle issues. Yes, I mean, again, it's best ball, so you can tolerate a little more risk with your upside. And I feel really good here knowing that at worst, I'm telegraphing anybody. Again, I don't know how you could listen to my live stream. I should try to do some sort of hypnotism if anybody's listening that's actually in the draft. But between Josh Jacobs and Kyron Williams and Chase Brown, I'm fine with all 3 of those guys. Starting running back, because again, my experience here in these FFPC leagues, the order of difficulty of getting points at the positions, tight end is the toughest and the most unpredictable in the draft. Running back is the next toughest, and you're also tolerating more risk. The problem is in best ball leagues, I can look at quarterbacks in the second half of my draft. I'm going to get points out of those guys. I can look at wide receivers in the second half of my draft. Oh, there goes Chase Brown. Boy, I was really hoping for Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown could easily be a top 5 running back this year. I was just talking about how I did not worry about Matthew Stafford because of Jimmy Garoppolo, but do I really feel that? Do I really trust Kyron Williams? I also really like Garrett Wilson here, and I've had as a fallback Garrett Wilson. Chase Brown was here at 3-2. This is the problem with going by ADP. So you're going to watch me deliberate this. I do think Garrett Wilson could catch 120, 130, 140 balls this year. Give me that punch, the high ceiling. I just can't go. I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson. So Jonathan Taylor and Garrett Wilson. So there you go. You got the first twist, as Chase Brown was there at 3-2 or later in every other draft. Look, Chase Brown in the second half of the year last year was a top 10 running back. He's in a super high octane offense. They did nothing really to improve the backfield behind him. Zach Moss is starting the season, the training camp on the NFI list with that neck injury. So yeah, Chase Brown. I mean, honestly, I have Chase Brown very close to Jonathan Taylor. In a best ball league, I might even go higher because of his PPR upside week to week. But I really thought I was going to Chase Brown. So there you go, folks. You get to experience the first moment with me of, I was really hoping to start running backs. But as I went through my preparation for this draft, at every turn, 4, 5, 6, 7, I have alternatives. I have, depending on what I need, depending on how I got to this point in the draft, am I going to lean one position or another? By the way, professionals. Someone in the chat room, by the way, Jim Horsey, mentioning O'Marion Hampton. I'm not ready to go there yet. We'll see about Najee Harris. I mean, we could look back and say O'Marion Hampton was the guy, and anybody who took him in the 3rd round even got a value. Jim Harbaugh is excited about him. Jim Harbaugh is saying that he hasn't seen someone who gets to the hole through the mush, finds a hole in the mush like him, and just lit up. And they ask him about Najee Harris. He's like, I don't really know much about Najee Harris. I'm not a doctor. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk anybody out of taking O'Marion Hampton. There goes Lamar Jackson. And now, what about quarterback? Quarterback is an interesting position because it's the highest scoring position. This isn't a super flex league, but this is still the highest scoring position. And if I didn't like Garrett Wilson, Chase Brown as much, by the way, T. Higgins 3-3, Kenneth Walker 3-4, Tyreek Hill 3-5. Just can't get there with Tyreek Hill. And just Miami in general. Although I'm hearing more positive things out of Miami camp, and you hear Tua calling out Tyreek, not really calling him out. I shouldn't have said that. Saying that our relationship is coming along, saying that maybe Tyreek Hill is maturing and it's affecting their relationship. Kenneth Walker at 3-4. By the way, Mauricio, love Mauricio's start. Jahmyr Gibbs, AJ Brown, Kenneth Walker. Dennis Jones start. He goes with Josh Allen at 3-7. So you have potentially the highest scoring tight end, the highest scoring running back, and the highest scoring quarterback. That sounds like a good plan to win. So again, these leagues are tough. All right. Like I said, if I was picking draft slots, 2 would have been in my bottom 3. All right. But that's what's fun about fantasy football. And look, no excuses. You can win from any draft spot in these drafts. So quarterback, I think that from a true adding a ceiling to your lineup, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen at 3-2, totally justified. But again, I look at wide receivers, I look at quarterbacks in the second half of this draft, and I think, well, if I'm going to break ties against a position, and this is why I would have started 100%. Chase Brown was there at 3-2. You would have seen me go Jonathan Taylor and Chase Brown. But with Garrett Wilson there, I still like his weekly upside to catch 10 or 12 balls in any given week. And that's where we ended up. With quarterback, what I'm expecting is the top 4, maybe 5, Joe Burrow being the 5th, won't make it back. So I really had to eschew a true highest ceiling. Jackson, Hurts, Daniels, Allen. These are the guys with your 35, 40 point upside in any given week. So it does lower. Taking a Lamar Jackson at 3-2 would have probably upped my weekly ceiling, right? I would just had more of a chance of getting a 35 or 40 point quarterback. It's going to be harder to do that without one of those 3. But I really like the value quarterback early. Later. And I also feel like at quarterback, you can go 3 or even 4 deep in this format and really give yourself a chance to catch a hot quarterback. We see Jane Daniels going at 3-12. Justin Boone takes him, and then Rashee Rice. We'll see about the suspension. I expected Rice maybe to fall a little bit more, but you do have weekly upside. Sam Laporta, I like that pick at 4-2 in an FFPC tight end premium league. Laporta from week 12 on was his good old self. New offensive coordinator John Morton really likes him, and I think that builds in. You got to build an upside at tight end, and I promise you, at the end of this draft, there are going to be some folks where you look at their tight end draft and you're going to say, "Ooh, that's going to be tough." You better be making up a lot of points to make these tight ends work. And I promise you, again, if you're listening, how other 11 drafters, I'm going to give something away here. I'm going to be aggressive at tight end. Just because I took Brock Bowers does not mean that I'm done taking tight ends. Tight ends in the first 10 rounds of the draft. Marvin Harrison Jr., Jameson Williams, I like that. Now, if I would have started running back, Jameson Williams would have absolutely been a consideration. And just to show you how wide ADP can range, Jameson Williams went, I think, in the late 5th, early 6th, one of the drafts had already happened. So I thought maybe there was a chance I was going to be looking at him. Not happening. As Trey McBride, Brian Thomas, Omarion Hampton, and Billy Van Orm. Sorry, my screen is cut off here. There we go. Highlight him. I can do that? Really? Cool. So, again, I'm really interested to see what Dennis does here. Dennis, I think, thinking like I am, like, well, if you're going to slough a position here, it's wide receiver. So we're getting closer to my picks here. A few things, I guess I'll opine a little bit. By the way, again, thanks everybody, just to have a chance to do this. I know a lot of you out there are doing like really intense jobs, difficult jobs, maybe jobs you don't feel like doing, jobs that hold society together. So without you, I don't get to do this. So thank you, because it truly is a dream job for me, someone like me, especially that needs validation and attention. So I get my personal psychological needs met along with getting a paycheck. Wide receivers flying off the board here: Marvin Harrison, Jameson Williams, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams. So there's your first wide receiver. Love that for Dennis Jones. James Cook going at 4-6. Christian McCaffrey, Ladd McConkey, Lamar Jackson, James Cook. That's a strong start. I don't see any reason James Cook won't be the same guy he was last year. So again, coming up to my picks here, this was the list I have here. Probably there goes Mike Evans, like that with Chris Godwin. Mike Evans at 4-8 with Chris Godwin, potentially on the shelf to open the season. And by the way, it looks like with Terry McLaurin in camp, there's no discount for him. There goes Jalen Hurts. I wasn't going to say anything. Jalen Hurts, I would just ran to the podium. With one more pick left here, I have a pretty good idea of who I want and really where the calculus changed here is when I did not start Jonathan Taylor Chase Brown. If I started Jonathan Taylor Chase Brown, I was going to take my top remaining wide receiver, who I still think I can get at the 5-2 turn. And that's one of the other interesting things when you're picking near the turn is you always have to make that choice of which of the top 2 targets. You might not take your top player on the board when you're picking at or near the turn. Well, you're picking at the turn, doesn't matter. Near the turn, because you have to really, again, there's evaluating the players in fantasy football. There's at least 2 discrete skills here. There goes Xavier Worthy. So I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard here. This is another reason like I felt comfortable passing on a running back at 1-2 at the second pick because I like the quality. Chuba Hubbard was the borderline running back 1 last year. Panthers are going to get even better. He's their guy. Yeah, I always had Chuba Hubbard in pen if I did not start running back. There goes Joe Burrow. So I could have taken Joe Burrow. Not, again, I feel good cobbling together a quarterback committee later on. We're going to see if I get, there goes DJ Moore, and that's a solid pick. Hey, with Luther Burden not playing, yeah, DJ Moore. So I'm going to go with my top remaining wide receiver. I think this guy's a value in every draft. It's Devontae Smith. Hello. Look, Philly. Okay, everything went perfect for Philly last year. Everything went perfect. I think the stat that got out there was something like 54 pass attempts when they were trailing in the second half. There's just no way they're going to be so pass light. These things are going to happen. I mean, maybe they'll run the table again. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown also got banged up last year. This is another reason I was keeping my fingers crossed that maybe Jalen Hurts would fall. Really like Mauricio's start, by the way. He had Zay Flowers, Mauricio, Jahmyr Gibbs, A.J. Brown, Kenneth Walker, Jalen Hurts, Zay Flowers. Devontae Smith was a late 3rd round pick last year, I think, and he falls around or more this year just because they were not as pass heavy on offense because they had a Super Bowl season. Maybe the defense will be so good it doesn't matter. And, the other thing is, how do you drive these things? Like Saquon Barkley, far and away the number 1 running back last year, falling to the 4th running back in this draft. I've seen other drafts where he's the 3rd running back. So there's some pessimism there. Now, if Saquon Barkley gets hurt, oh my, Eagles passing game to the moon, folks. There goes Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, from a number standpoint, was even better than Chuba Hubbard last year. It's the Saints. I'm down here in New Orleans. By the way, folks, I love being an ambassador of New Orleans. Come down to New Orleans. There's a special story just for you waiting. And I love being an ambassador of this city. I truly love this city. I have so much to share about it. And the football team this year, maybe not. We'll see. This is a team. The training camp battle is heating up with Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler. This is tough. Kendall Cook in the chat room asking what's the format. And it is, it's quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end premium. It's PPR, but a 1.5 PPR for tight ends, 2 flex, and 20 rounds, best ball. So I just feel like, and yes, I mean, if you just do the math, it seems like, well, if Alvin Kamara can stay healthy, geez, we might be looking at 100 catches. I mean, he could get the George Pickens. I'm going to just break into my own. I love George Pickens this year. I wouldn't be surprised if you see one of the things I ponder doing just for fun, but I'm here to win and have fun, was starting with CeeDee Lamb and then taking George Pickens in the 5th and then pairing him up with Dak Prescott. Because I think you're going to see Dak Prescott throw 650 passes. George Pickens is the best quarterback, best offense he's been in. He was asked, what do you think about playing in Dallas? He's like, I like this better than Pittsburgh because they run better plays. So we just don't know how much George Pickens has been held back because of the Steelers quarterback play, because of Arthur Smith and Matt Canada, just with a quarterback like Dak Prescott and a wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb, who, you're not going to be worried about George Pickens. Really, last year, all you really had to worry about was George Pickens. So, yeah, this is something where I think we could be greatly underestimating George Pickens. Tedero McMillan, and Tedero McMillan at 5'10", you just saw Dave Canales say, we're gonna target him a lot. He's going to be heavily involved. We're going to challenge him. Boy, you'd like to hear that when you're talking about a rookie. And Tedero has been as advertised. Let me scroll down here. So, yeah, if you want your breakout wide receiver from the rookie class, I mean, he's going first off the board, and the first, someone could do the numbers. The first wide receiver off the board, the rookie at 5'10", is lower than usual. So I like that. Again, you're going to look at other people's roster in a contest like this, and you're going to really like it. And so it's tough. I mean, you got it. I finished second last year. I started with Garrett Wilson and Travis Kelce. Didn't quite work out. If I just had gotten those early picks better, I think I was a little too much stuck in ADP last year and not willing to take a player ahead of ADP. See Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's interesting with Johnny Smith gone. Could Jalen Waddle get back to 100 catches? Absolutely. James Conner, loved the James Conner pick. He's going to be the same guys always. I don't think that, and especially in a best ball league, James Conner is actually durable. Rome Odunze, 6'1", Jerry Jeudy, 6'2". Cleveland's on my 10-foot pole list. No thanks. Travion Henderson, it's going to be interesting to see if ADP adjusts to the news that Henderson's basically the third running back behind Stevenson and Gibson. Now, in a PPR league, with his speed, it still really pan out. But I think you're going to see Mike Vrabel take it slow with him and with Kyle Williams. So maybe I might be looking to take Ramondre Stevenson later if anybody's listening that shouldn't be listening. This draft's been a little quiet at tight end. Kelce and Hawkinson going in the 5th. We'll see. I just might have a tight end up my sleeve at the 6-7 turn. Travis Hunter going at 6'5". Again, news today that he's actually playing on defense more than offense in practice. And in so much as Travis Hunter has shined in practice, it has been as a defender. DeAndre Swift going at 6, I can't really argue with that. It seems like he's going to be the clear lead back there. He was in on the 2-minute drill. This is going to be a run first. Well, maybe they will do a lot of quick passing, but it's going to be a run first offense. And it doesn't seem to me like Ben Johnson has soured on it. So we're getting closer to my picks here at the turn. And again, I've started 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. So I have some flexibility here. Honestly, going into this draft, this is probably, I'm going to say this, I'm going to blue myself. This is the turn that I felt most confident that I could write my picks in pen. Although, man, I thought Chase Brown at 3-2 was going to work out. I was pretty sure about Chuba Hubbard and Devontae Smith. But this one, I think, based on ADP, and things can always change. Again, that Chase Brown pick was a little bit of a surprise. He was going anywhere from 3-2 to later in the 3rd round. We've got some running backs going off the board here. DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, RJ Harvey. I'm going to do something a little shocking here. Not shocking. I think when people like to talk about stacks and things like that, they might be surprised whenever they see what I do at this next pick at 6'11", unless someone snipes me, which is very possible. There goes David Njoku. Okay, so there we have some tight ends coming. David Njoku, not the tight end I was looking at. 6'10", and I'm going to be on the clock here. And of course, I have to make sure that there's not anybody that would surprise me available. That's one of the other things as I'm doing this live stream with you all, is I have my draft plan based on the ADP of the first 3.5 drafts. The other one's a slow draft. But there's always players that can slip through the cracks, like Jalen Hurts almost did, as we wait here for the 6th round pick. 30 seconds left on the clock. But I have a player here. I think that the way this draft is shaping up, I'm really going to get a lot of flex weeks out of tight end and wide receiver. I really like the wide receivers available in the second half of the draft to all contribute at least a few weeks and maybe more. And there goes Evan Ingram. So here comes the tight ends. So you know what? I'm gonna change this up here. I'm gonna change this up because I really felt like the tight end that I wanted, I could wait around and take him at 7-2. But since the team picking at the 6-7 turn, also they sniped me on Chase Brown. So forget it. I'm gonna take Tucker Kraft. And you want the breakout tight end of the year, folks? Tucker Kraft. Don't be surprised if we're looking at Tucker Kraft as a similar player to George Kittle as the season goes on. And what I mean by that is he doesn't need many targets. He may be 90 targets, 95 targets to get up into the top 5 tight ends. And Packers are talking about him like they may even make him more central. So I just wasn't going to let that go by. I think that, again, I've already taken the top tight end. Okay, so I've taken the biggest chunk of points out of the tight end pie chart. Now I'm taking a tight end, and I'm not done yet, folks. Don't be surprised if you see me take another tight end, let's say around the 10-11 turn, because I'm going to get the players that I think are going to move up the board at tight end. You can get big spike weeks with the 1.5 PPR. Also, we're doing some draft psychology here, and I like the idea of maybe setting off a little bit of adrenaline for folks that are watching 3 tight ends off the board in a row, wondering, I mean, Tucker Kraft folks have been going in the 9th. I think he moved up to the 8th round in the slow draft. I think that he's worth more than the 6'11" in this draft. He's worth more. I have him ahead of Travis Kelce and Ingram and Njoku in my rankings. There goes Mark Andrews. See, this is part of what I was hoping to do. And I get the wide receiver that I was planning on taking anyway, and that is, yes, Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is really good. And much like one Brock Bowers, he's going to get the benefit of Chip Kelly. He's going to get the benefit of Geno Smith. Maybe we'll put a little, Myers, Bowers, stack. How do you like that? Raiders, passing game. Also, Raiders defense. Remember, they just cut Christian Wilkins. So that could be an interesting little conflagration there. But Jacoby Myers, he's in the same galaxy as an Amon-Ra St. Brown in terms of the role that he plays and how much the quarterback and the team trust him. I mean, they've already said that Jacoby Myers has inside-outside versatility, that he plays the position the way that they want. And so I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm feeling pretty good between Garrett Wilson and Devontae Smith's ceiling, maybe because of the Jets quarterbacks, maybe because of Devontae Smith and the Eagles might have some games where he has low pass volume and a big win. Jacoby Myers is a player that I feel like 85, 90, 95 balls is coming. Because Juwan Jennings, 7-4. Let's watch what happens with his calf injury. There's some talk that calf injury also happened earlier in the season. Don't love that. Don't love that when you have a recurring injury. Usually the second time is worse than the first, although if it was like 5 months ago, I don't know. Now you're going to see in the 7th round in a draft like this, and I say this to folks in a best ball draft especially because we're looking mainly at upside. You better be ready to take your players. You better be ready to take your players. And there goes Caleb Johnson. And look, the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round is just a mess at running back. There's timeshare running backs. There's running backs that we know are going to be in 2-headed backfields. We don't know how they're going to turn out. In a best ball league, at least you don't have to count on them if you're taking them in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round, but you also might not get anything out of them. Caleb Johnson, Pittsburgh Steelers, there's a lot of talk that the running game, that Arthur Smith running game, he didn't really have a running back who could block it. Maybe Caleb Johnson is that guy, although Jalen Warren is also going to play a role in this backfield, as is Kenneth Gainwell. And it's the Steelers. I'm a neurotic Steelers fan. Again, rest in peace, Dave Parker. Congrats, man. Check out his poem. It's beautiful. His son, Dave Parker II, read it. I don't want to tear up. It's beautiful stuff. Khalil Shakir at 7-7. Again, in the same vein as Jacoby Myers, in the same vein as Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, the everybody eats Bill's offense is probably going to limit him, but he can take another step forward. He can still get better. And he's clearly the class of their wide receivers. I love this Khalil Shakir. How often you get a number one wide receiver, clear number one wide receiver, for a quarterback that is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and one of the best offenses in the league in the 7th round? So Khalil Shakir as a player, if Jacoby Myers wasn't falling so consistently in these drafts, absolutely would have considered him. There goes Ricky Pearsall, who's back from his hamstring injury. And Pearsall, last 2 games of the year. What you really like there is the timing between he and Brock Purdy. It looked magnificent. Pearsall is an excellent route runner. He's a great fit in a Kyle Shanahan offense. So, again, can he stay healthy? Can Juwan Jennings stay healthy? When will Brandon Ayuk be healthy? Lots of questions here. But certainly all players, especially when we're looking at weekly upside in a PPR league in the 7th round, you have to love that. So again, and I want to say thanks again to everybody. Sorry I haven't been as interactive in the chat room. And we've got, as we're going here, Donovan with his Colorado Buffaloes in the chat room saying, "What target Geno?" Yeah, I'm going to target Geno now. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. Probably around the 14-15 turn. Tyler Warren goes 7-10. I like that. And I could easily have seen talking myself into Tyler Warren at the 6-7 turn. I don't love Tyler Warren as a prospect. I think he's a little overrated, but the Colts love him. seems like he's a real focus of the pass offense, even though they have a lot of talented receivers. I think it makes sense, not even just in a PPR league, in a tight end premium, even in a PPR league, maybe for Tyler Warren to be the first Colts pass catcher, even though Michael Pittman, put Michael Pittman in a regular pass offense, he should be a third or fourth round pick. He plays for the Colts. And Josh Downs, put him in a regular pass offense. We might be comparing him to Jackson Smith-Njigba. He plays for the Colts. They also have Alec Pierce, nice late best ball pick with his big play ability. This is going to be a team. Of course, I have Jonathan Taylor, so that's the point of the spear there. See Jordan Addison going 7-11. Dalton Kincaid, again, why have I not taken a quarterback yet? Why have I taken 2 tight ends? Not just tight end premium, but here we are. We've had 5 quarterbacks go off the board and 12 tight ends. So my experience in this draft has really shown me that as much as I like to build in, ideally, I would like to build in top upside, like what Dennis Jones did, Barkley, Kittle, Allen, Adams, Shakir, Swift, Kelsey. Well, I don't love the Kelsey pick. I think he's got one foot in the grave. But I'm going to say it right now, based on the first 7 rounds, that's who I would pick to win this draft. Emeka Egbuka going at 8-1 with the Chris Godwin news of a second ankle procedure starting camp on the PUP list. Emeka Egbuka, 80, 90 catches, very much in his range of outcomes. They're gushing about him. They love him in Tampa. He's ready to play. So there goes Kyler Murray. You're just looking for upside here. We're going to see a lot of tight ends go off. A lot of quarterbacks go off of the board in the next 4 rounds. So I do think you're looking for upside. Kyler Murray, maybe his knee will feel better. He said his knee wasn't feeling great, and he's ready to run more if they ask him to run more. That's the upside you're looking for. So absolutely, I would have been thrilled to get Kyler Murray as my quarterback 1 in the 8th round in a contest, a best ball contest. But that's okay. I have a lot of plans and backup plans. There goes Brian Robinson, solid pick. Brian Robinson has not been moving up the board. You can look at a glass half full. He was still a low-end running back 2 last year. Even though he didn't play well, he was hurt a lot. Glass half empty. He didn't play well. He was hurt a lot. Corey Krosky-Merritt, they like him. Could we see more Austin Eckler? Could we see a little more Jeremy McNichols? Could we see a little more Deebo Samuel? Jordan Mason, love that pick. Love that pick. Jordan Mason, I think a good bet to lead Minnesota in rushing touchdowns and in carries. And I think going ahead of Aaron Jones, even in a PPR league, makes a lot of sense. There goes Chris Godwin, which, again, you're seeing the reaction to the news, right? We can go back and look. Chris Godwin's ADP maybe about 2 rounds higher before the news of him starting camp on the PUP list in that second ankle procedure. So coming up here, I'm really looking at my build. Now, I'm putting a lot of eggs in that Jonathan Taylor, Chuba Hubbard basket. I've got some tricks up my sleeve at running back. Don't worry. But I really think that just based on, and there goes Deebo Samuel, and I can say this now. There goes Jake Ferguson, who just got an extension, 12 million or so, 11, 12 million a year, 13 million a year. So they like him. And you think about defenses with Lamb and Pickens and Ferguson in the middle of the field. Wow, I think this could be really good for Jake Ferguson. So I like that. I did not think he was going to get around. So, if I thought a Tyler Warren or a Jake Ferguson, maybe even a Colston Loveland, congratulations whoever gets Colston Loveland. I'm not going to go that crazy. Then, I might have been a little less aggressive with Tucker Kraft. But also, I just think Tucker Kraft has such a high ceiling. Tucker Kraft will be one of those perfect storm players this year because he doesn't need, with his run after catch ability, he does not need to get that much of an increase in targets to really break out. Travis Etienne, I think the writing's on the wall that Tank Bigsby is going to be ahead of him in the rotation. May get some more work as a receiver. There goes Josh Downs. So I love this. This is exactly what I was hoping for when I waited on quarterback. Thank you very much. Baker Mayfield. What is going on here, folks? Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield scored roughly on the same level as Joe Burrow last year. And he didn't have Mike Evans for 3 weeks. He didn't have Chris Godwin for half the year. They drafted Emeka Egbuka. Jalen McMillan is going to be better. I know the Tristan Wirfs thing is a bummer. But I'm just looking at best ball here. There's Joe Mixon. Good luck. Now, because I got my ideal quarterback here, maybe I could wait a quarterback. I certainly could use a running back. Probably my top running back left now would be Jalen Warren. it's hard for me to get that excited about Jaylen Warren. Top wide receiver left here. I mean, there's not anybody like Rashid Shaheed for upside. Nobody's standing out here. I'm not going to go crazy. I mean, I could take Colston Loveland and really go, ooh, but there's another tight end I want here. So, we're going to look back at quarterback, and we're going to build an upside here. And I mean, geez, he's still sitting there. And I mean, why not? Like, why am I not going to pair Patrick Mahomes with Baker Mayfield? I never honestly expected to even have this opportunity. Patrick Mahomes usually going off the board as the quarterback 6. I get him as the quarterback 8. I think you're going to see everybody start to take those quarterbacks now. That's another reason why I said, let me get my quarterback 2 now before about half the teams have gotten their quarterback 1. Yes, thank you very much. And we're just trying to harvest upside. We're trying to harvest those 30, 35-point games. Of course, Kansas City, we're trying to get the downfield passing game going again. Again, I want to take a moment to say thank you, everybody. By the way, quarterback was always my plan at the 8-9 turn. It was going to take a lot. Somebody really surprising. Maybe Jordan Mason, maybe Emeka Egbuka. I don't know. I was going to, and there goes Dak Prescott. I certainly, if Patrick Mahomes was not there, Dak Prescott would have been my pick at 9-2. I think we've seen him finish as a top 5, top 6 quarterback. He's lined up for that again this year. It's especially in leagues with more pass-heavy scoring systems. Justin Fields has a toe issue. He's back to practice. Yeah, here go the quarterbacks. So I wanted to get 2 before the quarterback run. There goes Jaylen Warren. I get that. I'm going to have to get a little crafty with my running back bench, get a little crafty with my wide receiver bench, but I feel good about that in the second half of the year. Brock Purdy. So this is exactly what I anticipated, folks. That's why I'm so happy to get Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes. Both of these guys have 30-30. They're not Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts upside, but they're the next. If you're talking about any given week, who can get past that 30-point mark? There goes Drake May. It's a great pick. It's a fantastic pick. So you see everybody's taking the quarterback. Again, and Justin Fields, by the way, goes to the team that took Lamar Jackson. So you see how, and there goes Colston Love, an excellent pick in the 9th round, looking good out there. Remember, Luther Burden, still not practicing yet. Nice pick, Michael Leone. Still not practicing yet. He could open up targets for Colston Loveland in the slot, too. Remember, they took him at number 10. All right, they love Colston Loveland. Smooth. And a 2-way tight end. Tyrone Tracy, Cam Scatterboat going back to back. So I would probably have a little more of a gap there, but not much. I think you could be Scatterbout as the goal line back because of Tyrone Tracy's issues with ball security, but also, they asked Brian Daboll about Tyrone Tracy. He's bigger, he's faster, he's quicker. There goes Keon Coleman. Had a good day at camp. He's been inconsistent. Now, inconsistent might not matter as much for a best ball league. He's going to be potentially a red zone target, potentially a circus catch kind of guy. And it's okay. It's hard for me to get excited about Keon Coleman. But he did have that kind of day at camp today that you're looking for if you see that second-year breakout coming. So, I have to say, so far, this has been a pretty good for what I was hoping. I did get thrown a little bit of that curveball with Chase Brown, so I might have to put a little more investment into my running back bench. But the beautiful thing is with 20 spots here, I really think that I'm going to be able to build in probably, if I go, especially with Mayfield and Mahomes now, I might only need, third quarterback. I thought about a 4th quarterback, but I might only need a 3rd quarterback. Gino. Oh, Isaiah Likely. Oh, you sunk my battleship. Oh, who did that to me? I want names. Billy Van, I don't know. Billy Van O. Billy, I love you, man. I think it's a breakout year coming for Isaiah Likely. Michael Pittman falls all the way to 10-5 with Anthony Richardson moving back ahead in the quarterback competition. So that's going to change my plan here. That was one of the picks I had written in pen here, as I think the breakout year is coming, if not this year, next year for Likely. But you see the arrows, the way they're pointing for Andrews and Likely. Likely is a player that's a big play player. He's a red zone player. He's a run after catch player. Don't be surprised when Isaiah Likely. My 2 biggest breakout tight end candidates are Tucker Kraft and Isaiah Likely. I really wanted to come out of this draft with Bowers, Kraft, and Likely. Now then, this is one of those situations where Isaiah Likely in every other draft was there at 10, 11, and 11 too. I think. Anyway, well, watch me adjust here. There's one player, though, that I have at the top of my board that you're going to see me really get upset and really go on tilt. You want to see Sig Bloom go on tilt as a, 20-year fantasy football professional. Hey, everybody, I haven't looked at the camera for a while. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks for, just that you want to spend time with me on a Sunday night. That's really special. Thanks to my wife, Kate, for giving me this wonderful idea, the love of my life, so I can spend time with my friends. It's a wonderful thing here. There goes Dallas Goedert. I absolutely would have considered Dallas Goedert at this next term. He was a top, 8, 10 tight end when he played last year. And again, Philly is going to pass more this year. I think you can count on that, folks. So the choices here, again, I think everything's, with my Dallas Goedert was probably the last tight end I was really going to consider here. I like going strong at tight end early. Kyle Pitts is still out there, but I don't really need to build in that kind of upside swing when I already have Bowers and Tucker Kraft as we wait here. A lot of interesting considerations here. I think running back is the position that is really screaming out. I think the guy on the clock or girl on the clock, I don't know, in front of me here, floating something, is waiting to hear 4 seconds. Jaden Higgins, good. I'm going to get who I want here at running back, and that is Ramondre Stevenson. Again, Travion Henderson running as the third running back. Ramondre Stevenson talking about how he already knows the offense. There goes Kyle Pitts. He already knows the offense because he remembers. There goes Tyjae Spears. He remembers Josh McDaniels yelling at him. So again, still a lot of interesting upside quarterbacks left here. I really like my Mayfield Mahomes start. At running back, you might be saying, Sig, you only have 3 wide receivers. What's going on here? I really like the depth at wide receiver. I really like it a lot. There's a couple of running backs. I could backfill in a third running back who has some receiving upside. This is not an easy call, folks. This is not an easy call. However, I'm going to go ahead and add a, you know what? Because we're just thinking pure upside here, right? I'm going to tell you folks really as this is counting down because I'm really I'm really torn here. I'm going to go for Rashad White. My heart wanted to go with Justin Herbert there because I think Justin Herbert is another quarterback who brings in like 30-point week upside. He was hurt last year. I think you might see him run a little bit more. I think you're going to see some progression. But I look at Mayfield and Mahomes, and I think, do I really need to upgrade that? I look at my running backs, and I think, oh boy, how can you break down in a contest like this if Jonathan Taylor gets hurt, if Chuba Hubbard gets hurt? I need a running back that I feel like is reasonably going to give me like 8 to 12 points in an emergency, break glass in case of emergency. Rashad White also remember to get some goal line looks. I know Bucky Irvin's role could grow, but Rashad White I think is a player that is just giving me like a firewall at running back. Because the problem with running back, let me talk a little bit about running back in best ball leagues. The problem with running back in best ball leagues is that, again, as we get deeper in this draft, you are going to get quarterbacks in the 15th round that are going to score for you. You are going to get wide receivers in the 15th round. They're going to score for you. You might even get a tight end in the 15th round that will score for you. For most of the running backs, we're about to get to the point in the draft that without an injury, and some of them will get injury opportunity, they may only score once or twice for you. And that's a problem, folks. So I really wanted to just build in a couple of running backs that have weekly roles. And Rashad White is a player that I think is a little bit underrated as a player because of how good Bucky Irving looked last year, but Rashad White was better as the season went on. And look, Rashad White, if Bucky Irving goes down, league winner. So more quarterbacks going off the board here. And, maybe I'll look back and regret not taking Justin Herbert. I don't know. There goes Darnell Mooney. And by the way, folks, sorry, I'm a little bit stuffed up here. Got a little sinus infection. You're seeing now Darnell Mooney. See what I'm talking about? Isaac Guerrero. Okay. Now, why does Isaac Guerrero go in the 11th round? Well, because Christian McCaffrey. Uh, it was this team's pick. But this is one of those situations where in a contest like this, if Isaac Guerrero hits, that means your first round pick didn't. You need your first round pick. You can't. I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to pick on you, Josh Hayes. I love all of the people in our fantasy football community, but you can't in a best ball league do these contingency plans because your team is not going to be better than a team. Now, granted, Isaac Guerrero could be like James Conner, the winner in the 11th round, but other teams are going to get production out of their 11th round pick. Maybe not Isaac Guerrero if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, production, but production. And if you're not getting production out of your first round pick, boy, it's hard to win a contest like this. But see, I'm just bringing this up because now you can see where we are. Sorry, folks, I have you all up here. There goes Corey, there goes Herbert, there goes McCarthy, there goes Lawrence. This is really what I was expecting. So let's see where we're at here. 20 quarterbacks off the board. I got 2, so I'm not too worried. Just look at this board, though. And then from the 9th round to the 12th round, we have seen now 13 quarterbacks go off the board. And I'm so happy that I got number 1 and I got the last one in the 8th round. So I think I got the values there. And that also should show you, by the way, how flat the quarterback value is as you go down the board here, as I think there's an argument for Justin Herbert, there's an argument for J.J. McCarthy, there's an argument for Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, quarterback 20? Wow. You know? Again, if Patrick Mahomes wasn't there, if Dak Prescott wasn't there, and say I went with Jalen Warren or something like that, maybe I just said, I don't want to miss on Isaiah Likely. God, I can't believe I missed on Isaiah Likely. Thought I was going to get him at the 10-11 turn. Then I would have been really, really happy to take Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert at 11-2. I've been really, really happy with that. So let's talk about some other picks going off the board here. Bashal Tootin. And by the way, professionals, 11 rounds. We are at 749, folks. 11 rounds done. May all of your drafts. I know it might make people feel frazzled to be in a draft going this fast, but wow, thank you everybody in this draft. Trey Harris getting that chance with Mike Williams retiring. Don't sleep on Keandre Lambert-Smith, though. I know my man Jetpack Galileo, one of the most underrated football minds out there. You don't know. Look him up, Jetpack Galileo. There's Michael Penix. Again, there's an argument for Michael Penix at 11-2. Michael Penix, a lot of talk that he's going to use his legs more this year. So you see these quarterbacks flying off the board. Javonte Williams, I mean, in the best ball league, he's going to score. He's going to get some games maybe where he catches 3, 4, 5 balls. Just not my kind of pick. Bashal Tootin is running consistently as the 3rd running back. Upside, there's the Bucky Irving effect. But Ray Davis, love Ray Davis. You need a James Cook injury. You may get a touchdown, a big play here and there. We're into the backup running back here. There goes Brandon Ayuk, by the way, at 12-3. Really interesting pick because in a best ball league, if it takes him until week 8, week 9, if he's Brandon Ayuk and you get 4 or 5 scoring weeks out of him, that's worth the 12th round. I would have rushed to take Brandon Ayuk with only 3 wide receivers taken. There goes Hunter Henry. So again, the tight end quality dropping off here. With 4 running backs, I'm probably not going running back here. I'm really looking probably at wide receiver. And there are definitely some wide receivers. We'll see. There goes Tank Bigsby. I'm taking Bigsby ahead of ETN. And at this point, we're hearing too much. Johnny Smith, it's Steelers. There goes Tua. Again, quarterbacks. I'm not going to take a quarterback here. I'm going to be going wide receiver. And I really like the wide receivers that are left here. In fact, there's a wide receiver that I had written in pen because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss on him. And now I'm wondering, am I still going to take him? Because, this is a better wide receivers than I expected. Okay, the wide receivers that I thought, here goes Austin Eckler, solid pick, much in the same vein as taking Rachaad White. Good PPR player, explosive player. Maybe it will be better than Rachaad White, although I think there's better contingent upside in case of injury there. By the way, Austin Eckler, folks, if you didn't watch Washington much last, he is still Austin Eckler. Got a couple concussion, but he's still Austin Eckler. In the 12th round, a good offense. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So, we're probably focusing on wide receiver here. And this is going to be probably a pick where I'm looking at the value on the board, and then a pick where I'm going to say I'm just going to get my guy. Although people are smart, people are paying attention. Also, they can pretty much know what's on my mind as we count down the clock here. But I have one pick that I've got loaded up, and then the second pick will be my go get your guy pick. There goes Brenton Strange again. You got to get your tight ends. I'm going for Shaheed, yes, PPR, special, one of the best deep threats in the league. He's healthy. He's looking good. And yeah, thank you very much. Tailor-made for, there goes Bryce Young. Ooh, that's a smart pick. Now, I think we're looking at, does everybody have two quarterbacks now? Because the other thing is like, oh, no, Justin Boone only has one quarterback. And does anybody have three quarterbacks yet? Nobody has three quarterbacks. So, we'll see. I may have to just roll with, oh boy, sorry, folks. I may have to just roll with, I'm just messing everything up. Just roll with Mayfield. At least Mayfield and Mahomes are pretty durable. But, Bryce Young, there goes Kyle Williams. Again, I just think you're going to see. So this is really funny because, boy, oh boy, if you would have told me that a Patriots wide receiver was going to go at 13-1, I was going to say, no, I'm not going to get him. I'm not going to get Demario Douglas, folks. Yes. How much more how can you ignore the drumbeat here? How can you ignore the drumbeat in the 13th round? How can you ignore the drumbeat? And look, I thought I was going to be thrilled to get Christian Kirk here. I had Christian Kirk, never expecting to get Rashid Shaheed because Rashid Shaheed is just such a perfect player. There goes Marvin Mims, also a good best ball player. But Demario Douglas, there's so much buzz about him. He's in the slot role in Josh McDaniels' offense. Look, it's the 13th round. He could now, and again, folks, this is why I was planning on going running back. I might have even, in hindsight, when I see how the wide receivers went, going running back, 2, 3, 4, like Taylor, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard. If I would have known that I could get Rashid Shaheed and Demario Douglas, yeah, there goes Matthew Stafford. Oh, he at the back. So you're seeing now, again, people looking at depth and saying, ooh, am I worried? Am I worried? Maybe I should be a little bit worried. But if I have to go into the season with just Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes, then I'm not going to panic. I don't think it's going to potentially doom my team. Way back in the good old days of MFL 10s, there were plenty of teams that won the MFL 10 division I was in whenever one of my quarterbacks got hurt. I only drafted two quarterbacks and one of my quarterbacks got hurt. So I think if you just are getting scoring from your quarterback, if the upside you're building and elsewhere is working out, then you can be okay. Dylan Sampson ahead of Quinshon Judkins. I love it because the vibes I'm getting out of Cleveland, folks, are that this team is moving forward without him. Now, they're probably going to lowball him on the contract terms and with the domestic violence arrest. We saw Isaiah Bond. I don't think anybody expected him not just to go undrafted, but to go unsigned. Because Isaiah Bond, not that much different than Matthew Golden, first round pick, when you look at his play. But now that's a sexual assault. Domestic violence, this is one of those things where, Cleveland, with all the stuff they've had with Deshaun Watson, I'm not getting a sense that they're going to meet Judkins in the middle. And I don't know. When and look, if we see Quinshon Judkins not report to camp, if we see Quinshon Judkins not actually show up for training camp, how's he going to play? Luther Burden falls all the way to 13-10. And at this point, you have to look at a player like Luther Burden. And why do you have to look at a player like Luther Burden at this point? It's just because, he could eventually get onboarded and do something in this offense and even be explosive or maybe be a second half of the year impact guy. Here's my problem, though. Luther Burden, first of all, Ben Johnson said that he expected him to be ready for training camp. He wasn't. This is a May hamstring injury, all right? Now, what else are we hearing out of Bears camp? Man, Ben Johnson's a hard ass, like a major hard ass, okay? He is Mr. Attention to Detail. Jigga Okonkwo, I like that as a late round tight end. He's Mr. Attention to Detail. Luther Burden coming in as a rookie, the Mike Tomlin moving train. Attention to detail. And if Ben Johnson said he expected him to be ready for training camp, that's not good. That sounds like doghouse kind of stuff too. So, I do have one league where the rookie draft hasn't happened yet. Man, I don't know if I'm taking Luther Burden even in the first round. There goes Christian Kirk. Well, see, there you go. So look at these interesting picks. Who is this? I want to be sure that I give them their credit. That's Michael Leone or Leone. Sorry if I'm botching your name. So I like this, though. Luther Burden, Brandon Ayuk, Christian Kirk. You got 2 upside picks with Ayuk and Burden. And then Kirk, should anyone be surprised if he catches 80, 90 balls this year as the slot receiver for CJ Stroud? Again, going into this draft, I had Christian Kirk at the 12-13 turn, along with Demario Douglas, thinking I'm getting 2 high floor wide receivers with high weekly upside with the PPR punch, So Christian Kirk, I have no idea. Why Christian Kirk continues to fall like this in drafts. Christian Kirk is getting paid about $15 million by the Texans. Okay, he's going to be, I'd like Jalen Noel. He's actually very similar to Christian Kirk. There goes Brashard Smith. Now, when you're in this part of the draft at running back, and this is why I'm glad I have 4 running backs, so I don't feel like I need to count on anything from the running backs I'm going to take from here on out. Because let me tell you, I would not expect much from the running backs you're taking from here on out. But Brashard Smith, could be something there. You got a souped-up Jerick McKinnon, basically. They love him. Director of player development, can't remember his name, saying he's going to play, whether it's just third downs or maybe all the downs or special team, whatever. He's going to play. So not often. This year's 7th round running backs, remember, they traded up for him. This year's 7th round running backs are so intriguing. Brashard Smith, Kyle Monangai, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. There goes Jerome Ford. So, why not? And, we've seen Jerome Ford have some big plays. We've seen Jerome Ford get some games where he gets a lot of catches. Not healthy right now. We'll see. Adam Thielen, loved that pick. So, again, why was I willing to take so few wide receivers? 3 in the first 11 picks. I would have been okay even with 2 in the first 11 picks. Because you can get guys like Christian Kirk, Adam Thielen. Now, I get it. Tedero McMillan is going to be the number 1 target there. But Adam Thielen finished with a tight wide receiver 1 PPR, like low wide receiver 1 flourish. There goes Sam Darnold. Elijah Arroyo, I like that. Absolutely, Elijah Arroyo would have been on my list. They love him. Noah Fant getting released. That has to have something to do with how they feel about Elijah Arroyo. Much like Tyler Warren, they might be irrational. They were talking about him even playing X receiver. Okay. But yeah, I think that this is something that could bear fruit. We're talking about tight end premium. We're talking about upside picks. Yeah, I think this could really, really work out. Coming up, a couple more picks here. There goes Braylon Allen. Solid. Braylon Allen's coming on. He'll still probably be at best in a committee with Breece Hall. Seems like he's pulling away from Isaiah Davis. Coming up here on my pick. One more pick to my pick. And my 2 picks here. Again, we have the tough stuff of which of my 2 targets am I going to take? Because there goes Tyler Algier. Again, we're in the backup running backs. I think let's go ahead and Geno Smith I missed, so I think we're going to be probably riding with 2 quarterbacks. I could take Anthony Richardson here for upside, and with Anthony Richardson pulling ahead and upside being the thing here, I guess we're just going to go with Anthony Richardson here. Anthony Richardson is my 3rd quarterback. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll even throw a pick at Daniel Jones because he has some rushing upside. There goes Mike Gesicki. So, some quality tight ends here. I love Mike Kraft and Bowers combo. I've got another player that I think I'm going to be getting here, unless I miss on him. Quentin Johnson, that's great. How's Quentin Johnson falling this far? It's sort of a similar, very underrated player. I don't understand why. And that's a great pick, by the way. I really like the Quentin Johnson pick. And I also like Jalen McMillan. And I'm pairing him up with Baker Mayfield. I don't know if that really matters. But, upside, big plays, touchdowns last year. It's even if he's not consistent in PPR leagues, he's not consistent as the 4th receiver for this team, maybe 3rd to open the season because of Chris Godwin. I think you're going to see some upside there. I'm not really upset with Anthony Richardson as my 3rd quarterback. It might force me to use another pick on Daniel Jones. Although, again, why am I going to really care about this? I guess if Mahomes and Mayfield and go down and Richardson loses the job, I don't know. So, there were some running backs, if I didn't get the Stevenson-White combo at the 10-11 turn, I might have been looking at some running backs there. But we'll see. Looking at my build at this point, let's go ahead. Hollywood Brown. That's not bad in the 15th round. Again, folks, you can see the names at wide receiver when we're looking at through a best ball lens. You see the names at wide receiver late. You should feel comfortable breaking ties against wide receivers. There's going to be players that you can look at and say, he's going to score for me 3 times, 4 times. Rashad Bateman, the big play receiver for the Ravens. Why not? I mean, Rashad Bateman is a reasonable pick at the 12, 13. There goes Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I think it's a Steelers fan. I hope it goes well. I don't think it's going to go well. Let's look at my build here, though. I guess I'm going to have to decide if I'm going to take any other shots at tight end. At this point, it would be looking for some flex magic or maybe denying somebody something. But we've got Bowers and Kraft. Enjoying that. Jonathan Taylor, Chuba Hubbard, Ramondre Stevenson, Rashad White. I'm going to add at least 1 running back, probably 2. Got my 3 quarterbacks, Mayfield, Mahomes, Richardson for the upside. Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, Garrett Wilson. You get a lot of flex, I think. I think we're going to get some flex weeks out of Rashid Shaheed, Demario Douglas, Jalen McMillan. Probably going to be taking here. We got, how many picks left? 5 more picks. Definitely we're going to get some running backs and wide receivers mixed in here. Probably I would prefer not to take Daniel Jones. And we'll see. So let's go back and watch this as it unfolds. Nick Chubb. How did I forget about Nick Chubb? So that's what I mean. You can be going through a draft like this, and I'm happy to share it with you all, so I'm not complaining. But you just forget about a player like Nick Chubb as a player, that's a really nice pick at running back. Because he's a player that Roschon Johnson, he as a short yardage back, he may score 4 or 5 weeks. Roschon Johnson, if I didn't get the running backs that I got at the 10-11 turn with Smith, Stevenson, and White, I would have absolutely taken Roschon Johnson over Jalen McMillan or Roschon Johnson over Anthony Richardson because he's going to get some touchdowns. We'll see if it ends up Ben Johnson likes him. Ben Johnson's going to like Kyle Monangai too. That could be a late round pick. So, at this point, we're looking at upside. We're looking for weekly upside at wide receiver. We're looking at weekly, season-long upside at tight end. I think we're probably done at quarterback, unless I want, again, there's Will Shipley. That's a nice pick. That's a nice pick just because you can feel it's palpable how folks are a little worried about Saquon Barkley. Well, while A.J. Dillon might be the touchdown guy or the early down guy, they like Will Shipley. I think they're ready to at least give him the Kenneth Gainwell role. And look, in a best ball league, Kenneth Gainwell, Justice Hill. So these are some nice picks. Look, Nick Chubb, Roschon Johnson, Will Shipley, Justice Hill. These guys are likely going to give you more scoring weeks than most of your backup running back tier, like your Ray Davis, Trey Benson, Tyler Algier, those kind of guys. Isaac Arendo. And there goes Josh Palmer. That's a great pick. Josh Palmer, again, when you see the names you can get late in your draft at wide receiver, you should not fear waiting on the position. So as we are getting here to the end of the draft, I do feel like there goes Miles Sanders. We saw Jaden Blue, who's trying to rehabilitate. There was an item out there that they don't like his workload. Don't like his attitude. Juwan Johnson, that's decent. No Fant visited there, but K-Dot. Theo Johnson's not bad, by the way. So there's some upside guys. Wan'Dale Robinson, he's getting some more deep shots. I want to say once again, thank you everybody in the draft for how fast you're going here. So coming up here, Romeo Doubs, that's solid. That's one of those firewall type wide receivers. He's going to be on the field a lot. He's going to have some games where he gets 4, 5, 6 catches, touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns. Again, you can still be taking wide receivers late in your best ball draft. You feel pretty good about what they're going to do. I'm probably going to be looking here at, if I'm going to take a 3rd tight end, it's time to do it. Maybe even a 4th tight end. We'll see. I was just waiting here. Floating Fecule, making some nice picks. And maybe after this next round, I'll look at everybody else's. Has this been talking the whole time? I'm so sorry, folks. I'm so unprofessional. There goes Xavier Legette. Same team I was looking at for this draft. And it is, I'm going to get my third tight end. And it's going to be, if I can actually work my phone, Jatavian Sanders. Jatavian Sanders with Tommy Tremble on the back surgery list, problems. Senate player, Carolina, I'm just taking a swing here, maybe even depriving somebody of a late tight end. Since I've invested so much in tight end, if there's a tight end or two, maybe I'll take another tight end. I want to deprive them of that opportunity to get an upside pick at tight end, to save their draft and give myself some more upside. And it might be time, I guess, am I going to really roll with 4 running backs? That's the other question here. You don't, there goes Darquez Hunter. So am I going to take another running back here? Yeah, I think so. I'm going to take one of my specials, again, a best ball special here, as I feel like in these best ball leagues, you're looking at big play players, you're looking at weekly upside, you're looking at players that can score for you on one play. So unless my guy gets sniped here, and it could definitely happen, then we're going to do that. I can't believe that I have my audio on the whole time. You guys hear that? I don't know. I'm so unprofessional. But at the same time, I love it. I love the suggestions here too. Slayton, Slayton is fine in a draft like this. Alec Pierce, that's fine. I'm going to take my upside, big play, running back, Keaton Mitchell, all the way back now from that rookie year. Remember how good Keaton Mitchell looked in his rookie year? Then he had that terrible knee injury. Now he's all the way back. It is the Baltimore offense, and it's upside time, baby. So, big plays. I'm looking for big plays here. That goes Raheem Mostert. I've got, I still have some upside wide receivers. I still have some upside tight ends. And I'm feeling. There goes Terrence Ferguson. Very good pick. All right. In a tight end premium league, if I wasn't going to take, so I had 2 guys up my sleeve there. One was Jatavian Sanders. The other was Terrence Ferguson. And there's some chatter that Terrence Ferguson could slide into the Cooper Kupp pool. Okay. So just, let's see. Let's watch the training camp reports. Let's see if Terrence Ferguson's ready. Dalton Schultz. So let's, who this is fun. I'm just going to kind of do this stream of consciousness here. And it's funny. GZ says Elijah Mitchell. I mean, yeah, I think Elijah Mitchell is fine too. So let's see here. I was going to take a look at other people's teams. Hold on one second, folks. So looking at, I'm going to see how Dennis Jones did after he started with Barkley, Kittle, Adams, Kelsey. We like to see. I love the start. Godwin builds an upside. Cooper Kupp, not, he did get Justin Herbert a second quarterback. I like that. Bigsby, Judkins in the 13th. Why not? Adam Thielen. This is a solid draft. Cade Otton, remember, now you're looking at mainly as a flex with Kittle, but we saw when the injuries hit. Now they have a deeper wide receiver core this year. What Otton did, tight end premium. Miles Sanders. Why not? Oh, Diami Brown. That was one of the guys I had. I see Woody Marks going. I absolutely was. Diami Brown was on my short list for the 18-19 turn. There goes Elijah Mitchell. Absolutely a player I would have considered the turn. Pat Fryermuth, maybe, maybe he'll zero in on. Aaron Rodgers will. Yeah, maybe not. Still have a few more upside players up my sleeve here. Got one more upside tight end. A lot more wide receivers here. But my list, I will tell you, the hardest part, I don't really say the hardest part, one of the hardest parts of preparing for this draft was, 2011. There goes Rico Dowdle. So if I was going to try to have my injury back up there, I love that we're 8-11 Central. Darren Waller, why not? That's solid. He's still on the PUP list, I think. Now, I don't really take that credibly that he's going to do anything, but why not? Jackson Dart. I mean, at this point, this is the guy who sniped me on Geno Smith. Though. I don't get my Geno Smith super stack. It's the team, the Justin Boone. Justin! But Justin took Jackson Dart because he only has Jaden Daniels and Geno Smith. I mean, I don't know if you need. I think Geno's durable enough that if Daniels goes down, you're okay. But you know, I'm looking here, and my list for 2011 is getting shorter and shorter. So we'll see who's still out there. But I probably, looking at my wide receivers with Shaheed, I've got 6: Wilson, Smith, Myers, Shaheed, Douglas, and McMillan. Probably I'll add at least one more receiver there. Maybe another tight end. Maybe, I don't really. There goes Darius Slayton. That's fine. Darius Slayton's fine. Jalen Hyatt is hurt again. So you're not necessarily going to see a lot of competition for those deep balls. Keenan Allen, why not? I mean, these are actually decent picks in the sense that, all you're just saying, like, in a best case scenario, in Tyler Conklin, why not? Although as we're going to see here at the 18-19 turn, there is another Chargers tight end that I might be looking at here. Is just a swing for upside. Again, running back is pretty bleak right now. I suppose I could try it. At this point, it's not an 11th round pick, 18, 19, 20. But, I mean, backups, Giddens just went. Dowdle just went. I'm probably Antonio Gibson. No, I mean, Sean Tucker. I mean, Sean Tucker's a really good player. Actually, Sean Tucker's a player. Shh. Why did I just say that? Sean Tucker is maybe a player I should consider since I already have Rachaad White. And they're talking about using him a little bit more. Sean Tucker's one of those players that is better than a lot of backup running backs. And the Buckets will tell you that. Tyler Higbee, that's fine. But, this is even better. I like the build here with Ferguson and Higbee, although they don't really play the same position. But, Higbee has staying power in the pecking order. There goes Taj Brooks. That's fine. Not paired up with Chase Brown. So let's see here. I like a lot more what's left at wide receiver than I do at tight end and running back. So I think I'm probably, there goes Jack Besh. That's solid. That's really solid. I'm going to go ahead and take my other upside tight end play here. That's going to be someone they've been gushing about, Oronde Gadsden for the Chargers. And then, I think I just talked myself, unless I miss on him, into taking Sean Tucker here. Since I go ahead, I can pair him up. And then we'll just take the best wide receiver left because I feel like it's going to be my wide receiver 7, and I'm okay with that. Oronde Gadsden, they really like Oronde Gadsden with the Chargers. And I think he's the kind of player that, like Elijah Arroyo, like Terrence Ferguson, as the season goes on, you might see him be a larger and larger part of the offense. What you're looking for here is the drum beat. Again, there's not so much of a drum beat with Ferguson, except that, James Gladstone used to work for the Rams. He called the pick whenever the Rams traded down to 46. The Cooper Kupp role was open, and, there's some overlap there with what Ferguson can do. And with Arroyo, they're just gushing about him. With Gadsden, they've been gushing about him. It's tight end. We have seen some rookie tight ends. Even Greg Dulcich, once upon a time, made an impact as a rookie tight end. Ben Sinnott, I mean, with a Zach Ertz injury, Ben Sinnott, why not? I mean, why not an upside tight end? We do it with running backs. Why wouldn't we do it with tight ends? Again, folks, as we're going to get in under an hour and a half. Unbelievable. Thanks again to Fantasy Mojo, Darren Armani, for running this contest. It's a joy. It's fun. It's always one of the drafts I look most forward to because it's so unpredictable and because it's an interesting puzzle because it's not like the other puzzles. There goes Michael Wilson. Let's go ahead and take Sean Tucker because he's good, because he's in a good offense, and because he's my firewall running back behind my firewall running back. Because if Rachaad White does go down, for that matter, if Bucky Irving goes down, we've got some upside there. So let's see we'll see what wide receivers left. Again, I feel good enough about my wide receivers with Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, Rashid Shaheed, Demario Douglas, Jalen McMillan. That, the 7th wide receiver, there goes Jalen Noel. We're just going to be looking upside, okay? We're going to be looking for big plays or otherwise contingent upside. I've got a bunch of names here, and I'm feeling pretty good that at least one of them is going to fall to me. I hope this has been a fun exercise, folks. For those of you still hanging out in the chat room, if I decide to do stuff like this in the future, please get back to me. Let me know how it could be better, what helped, maybe what would have helped. I'm doing this all stream of consciousness, so I can't. Just kind of being in the moment with you all, sharing this experience, which is a lot of fun, and it's fun for me. So I hope it's fun for you. Also, I haven't been promoting Football Guys. What am I doing? What kind of person am I for my company? We have a magazine. It's fantastic. Come bring it to New Orleans and I will sign it and I'll have a drink with you or something because you're a football guy, football gal. And subscribe to Football Guys, listen to the Audible, watch our YouTube channels, check out everything that all the other football guys are doing. Dave Kluge, Alfredo Brown, Bob Harris. By the way, when Bob Harris, I'm just gobsmacked that Bob Harris is hanging out in my live draft, right? I've made it. I've really made it. Bob Harris is hanging out in my life. He is truly one of the titans of fantasy football. If you like fantasy football, you like the fantasy football community, you owe a debt to Bob Harris. So yeah, folks. And again, goes Dante Thornton going for the Vegas super stack. I didn't get Geno Smith though. So Dante Thornton like that though. I think he's going to be the deep threat over Trey Tucker and Jack Besh. Jack Besh ahead of Dante Thornton. I don't know about that because Dante Thornton is really impressing them with the side speed. But no, Dante Thornton is a player I was definitely considering here at the end of the draft. It's okay. I've got a few others. It's fantasy football draft season. I've got some articles coming out. I was looking at wide receiver, running back, quarterback, tight end camp situations that we're watching. Preseason watch list is dropping 32 episodes. Everyone you need to know for every team. As training camp is changing everything, but at least we had a starting point. It's already been obliterated. Jalen Naylor, that's another good one, by the way, with his deep speed. So again, we're in the 20th round. Jalen Naylor, I feel reasonably confident, is going to have 2 or 3 long touchdowns. That's going to score in a league with 2 wide receivers, 2 flexes, PPR. That's going to score. So, and there are a few left that I have that I also believe are going to score. So, but I just, while waiting for my pick, Jeff Bolt says Bob Harris is nice constantly. Yeah. Whatever. If you like Bob Harris, I love Bob Harris. You get to meet Bob Harris in person. You're going to see that Bob Harris is one of the people you find at the mountaintop, folks. I can't say enough good things about Bob Harris, a true dear friend that I love, and I look forward to having on my show and being on his show. And we're just so lucky. And that's really what this is about, folks. It really is about the friends we make along the way. We're looking for shared experiences. We're looking for human connection, and we find it through fantasy football. We find it through our love of sports. But in the 20 years I've been doing this at Football Guys, so many of my dear friends I have so much affection in my heart for, both Football Guys staffers, other fantasy football experts, and especially people that I've met that are the audience. And again, the audience, we don't exist without you. So as everybody is going to be beating their chest about this, that stat, I gave you this towel, I'm going to help you win your league, whatever. You're doing so much for us. And I always want the joy that brings me to get to do this, to come through. And that's kind of like my gift to you in a way that, let's appreciation. The older I get, I just turned 50. The older I get, the more I know that appreciation, gratitude is maybe one of the highest, most sacred things we could do in this life, and share that. And you have the greatest gift already. You're alive. And so I'm saying this big speech. So, you bring me so much joy. I hope I can bring you even just a little bit of joy as I'm one pick away here. Because life's too short, and because it's just about human connection, folks. And I've been able to connect with so many humans through this, and y'all have made me feel so good and so happy. I can't say thanks enough. And this even is really fun for me. So truly, everybody, please never hesitate to hit me up, Football Guys, Twitter, really, I'm so honored and privileged to get to be part of this journey with you, and it's something that I look forward to doing every single year. So who are we going with here? Yeah, one of my favorite players, undrafted free agent, looking for big plays, Jalen Coker. Also would have been happy with Andre Yoshevus, would have been happy with Tutu Atwell, would have been happy with Kamante Turpin. So there you have it, folks. Let's go over what I did here. Brock Bowers. Let me go back to the screen share. Thanks everyone for the journey. Brock Bauer, upside tight end. Brock Bowers, Tucker Kraft start. Jonathan Taylor, Chuba Hubbard, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, um, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, big 1-2 punch at quarterback. Ramondre Stevenson, Rashad White, Rashid Shaheed, Demario Douglas, Anthony Richardson, Jalen McMillan, Jatavian Sanders, Keaton Mitchell, Rondé Gadsden, Syracuse, Q's in the house, class 97. Sean Tucker, Q's is in the house. Q's is in the house. Jalen Coker, y'all are in the house. And thank you. Thank you so much. Let me know how this went for y'all. If you're coming in, you're doing FFPC, you want to talk FFPC strategy. This has been a lot of fun. Again, I want to say, of course, biggest thanks to the love of my wife, Kate, for nudging me to go ahead and do this, spend some time with you all on this wonderful Sunday night. As always,